Oh, welcome to COS Indiana Live. There's never been a more important time in our history than now if you believe it's time to stand up and be free. Stay tuned and come back every Monday at 7 p.m. as our state director and host, Dale Parrish, present the need for self-governance. Our COS Indiana vision statement is to build a grassroots community of Hoosier citizens and legislators dedicated to the constitutional concept of self-governance. So, take it away, Dale.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Convention of States Indiana Live. And as Maringo Mike said, my name is Dale Parrish. I am the state director for Convention of States here in Indiana. And we had a really good broadcast planned for you this evening, but as you know, it gets really frustrating sometimes dealing with the technology today. The technology is great when it works. And it didn't work for us again tonight. So we're going to have to make some modifications. Let me go through. I'll straighten this out for you as we go through the segments that we're going to present to you this evening. And the very first segment was supposed to be our topic of discussion segment. And we had lined up this evening, we had our super volunteer, Debbie Stewart, to bring us another chapter in constitutional literacy. And well, as it turns out, we can't get connected with Debbie tonight. So we don't know what the problem was. It occurred of course it occurred, at the very last minute. So we will have to skip Debbie tonight, and we'll get her scheduled to come back in August, probably later in August, and present the chapter that she was going to present tonight, which I think would have been a very interesting chapter. It was on freedom of speech and the press, a very, very appropriate chapter for what's going on in our country right now. But anyway, we weren't able to connect with Debbie, so we're going to move ahead. And once we get, then we'll skip over that segment, obviously. Then the next segment that I'll do is bringing you some information on how we're doing here in Indiana with a Convention of States. And I'll bring up my PowerPoint. We'll go through some different informational points for you on how things are going here in the state of Indiana, and also give you some numbers on how we're doing. I just want to reiterate one other thing here, that this broadcast, while we certainly welcome anyone that wants to join in the broadcast from any location, you're all welcome. But we specifically try to target the people in Indiana that are not yet in our movement here in Convention of States in Indiana, and that may be interested in joining us. So you are the targeted audience. So hopefully this information that I present to you about our state and our organization and some numbers and so forth, hopefully that will be of use to you, because you are targeted. You are the target that we're trying to reach here with this broadcast. Now, once we go through that information, then we'll try our best to recognize viewers that we have tuned in this evening. If you are a viewer and want to make a comment, please do so in the chat section. I'll try my best to recognize you and the comment. And then we'll wrap things up. I call it the invitation. Kind of reminds me of a sermon as I was growing up. And at the end of the sermon, there was always the invitation to come and join. And that's what we try to do to wrap things up here with our organization here in Indiana. We'll try to invite you to join. All right. Okay. Well, we're going to skip over the first segment, as I mentioned earlier, and let me bring up my PowerPoint, and we'll get into looking at some information on our PowerPoint. Now, in order for everyone to get a very, very good view of this, I'm going to opt for the slideshow option here, if I can get it to work. And this will hopefully give you a good view on your screen as to what we're trying to show here in the PowerPoint. So let's get started. As Maringo Mike said in the introduction, our vision statement here in Indiana is to build a Hoosier grassroots community of citizens and legislators. And that's very, very important. Citizens and that should be state legislators dedicated to the constitutional concept, and this is very important too, of self-governance. Citizens and legislators, state legislators, dedicated to the constitutional concept of self-governance. And you'll hear us, I've mentioned this before, we're going to stress more and more the self-governance part of our operation here in Indiana. So now, as a means of getting closer to realizing that vision statement, we've identified a couple our main mission objectives. And those are, number one, to meet with all assigned and targeted legislators. And we're referring to state legislators here. We have 100 state representatives and 50 state senators. So our objective always is to try and touch base with every one of those representatives and senators, specifically the ones that maybe are not familiar with our program and we don't know where they stand. Do they support us, or are they opposed to us? Or do we just not know where they stand? So those are the targeted ones, and those we try to make contact with and talk to them about supporting Convention of States. The other objective, mission objective, is to grow the grassroots. And our goal here for 2020 was to grow our grassroots to 52,000 supporters. Now, I'll give you a little more information as we get into the numbers on this, but we're right on track to accomplish this goal, 52,000. So more information on this particular objective as we get into the numbers, okay? The resources that we have available to us here in Indiana are many. The main resource is our national website, conventionofstates.com. Now, you're going to hear us make reference to this website from time to time. Number one, it is just jam-packed with all sorts of information, good information for you. And if you're new to Convention of States, and if you want to learn more, this is the very first step that you need to take, and that's to go to this national website, conventionofstates.com, open an account. That makes you a supporter. You're a supporter right from the very beginning once you open an account with us. So you'll hear us make reference to this website for many, many times as we move along here. Now, of course, the other thing about this website is on the back end, we utilize this website to administer the program here in Indiana, as does every state. So it's a huge website, and we utilize it to a large extent. Now, embedded in this national website is our state website page, conventionofstates.com/Indiana. Obviously, a more focused look on our state of Indiana. Social media platforms, we're on many different platforms. The main one that we utilize probably more than any other is Facebook, and our state Facebook page, Convention of States, Indiana. Matter of fact, our broadcast this evening is coming to you through that state Facebook page. So you definitely want to go to that, Convention of States, Indiana, like the page, and so you can keep attuned to what's going on in the state of Indiana. YouTube channel, COS Indiana. Now, this YouTube channel is mainly an educational resource for you. We have one of the things we have on this YouTube channel is we have recordings of these broadcasts. So this broadcast is being recorded and will be posted on there tomorrow. Now, also on that YouTube channel, we have some narrated PowerPoint presentations. We also have links to a podcast that our legislative liaison, Paul Phillips, does. And I'm sure if you've been watching any of our broadcasts, Paul has appeared on here many times. So Paul does this podcast called The Free to Be Free, and it's an excellent podcast. Paul does a very, very good job with this. Matter of fact, we use his podcast frequently as resource material for many of our broadcasts. But every podcast, then we post a link to that podcast on the YouTube channel, so it's easy to get to. The Free to Be Free podcast, Paul Phillips. We're also on Twitter, hashtag COS Indiana, Instagram, LinkedIn. I might mention that we nationally, Convention of States now has a presence on Parler, which is a new social media platform that is coming on very, very strong. It's an alternative to Twitter. I personally have never been on Twitter, but I understand that it's not very good, and well, there's all sorts of negative information out there about Twitter. So Parler has come on as a good resource or good alternative to Twitter. So you might want to check that out. Parler, P-A-R-L-E-R. So check that out. Our national group, Convention of States, is now on Parler. All right, let's look at some numbers. In 2019, here in Indiana, we grew to exceed 41,000 supporters. And we have been growing tremendously every year for some years now. So we set as our goal for 2020, 52,000. You heard me mention that in the mission objectives a bit earlier. So our goal is 52,000 for 2020. We are on track to achieve that, moving right along. And quite honestly, I'll tell you, with all the things that are going on in our country right now, as in addition to the virus, the COVID-19 pandemic, our enrollments, the number of supporters each month has been very impressive, and I think these conditions that we're experiencing here in 2020 are definitely contributing to the number of people that are opening accounts with us and becoming supporters of Convention of States. Now, amongst the various supporters, we have a number of people in leadership positions. We have about 80 individuals in different leadership positions, about 30 in what we refer to as district captains and region captains. Those are very significant positions. We also have about another 15 individuals in other significant positions that we refer to as our support group. Those individuals that support our district captains and region captains with various services and help. And then we have about 35 individuals that are volunteers or fill in some other less time-consuming type of duties. So we have about a total of about 80 individuals in various leadership roles here in the state. Once again, if you would like to get involved with Convention of States here in Indiana, go to the national website, conventionofstates.com, and open an account. Now, if you would like to look at possibly one of the leadership positions that we have here available, click on the menu selection. Once you're on the conventionofstates.com website, click on the menu selection, Take Action. Scroll down to where it says Become a Leader and look at the different positions that we have. These are all volunteer positions. I urge you to take special note as you look at these at the estimated time commitment that is expected in these positions. Some of these positions, the time requirement is very, very small, but other positions, the time requirement is much more. And you're the only one that knows how much time on a week-to-week basis you're willing to and able to commit. So I urge you to look closely at the estimated time required on these positions. Now, if you see a position that is of interest to you, open it up, read about it. If you're really interested in learning more about the position, go ahead and make application. You can do that right on through the website. Now, you're not obligated, don't worry about it. You're not obligated in any way if you make application. What that does is your name then will come up on a report that I and a few others see every day. And one of us then will get in contact with you to discuss that, that position further with you. So I urge you to take a look at that, and we would obviously love to have you as a supporter, but we would also love to have you if you have a desire to get more involved with us here in the state of Indiana. We would love to have you. Now, let me wrap up on the PowerPoint here with just a few comments about what we refer to as the Convention of States Basics. These are the three tenets that our Convention of States program is based upon, not only here in Indiana, but nationally. And that's the problem, the solution, and the plan. Now, we won't go into detail here on this at this point in time. I do refer you to that national website, conventionofstates.com. Click on the menu selection, Resources, and you'll find all sorts of material there for you to read and absorb with regard to the basics of Convention of States. As a matter of fact, there's a very, very good video right initially as you go to this page that I would highly recommend to you. But the basics of Convention of States, as we said, the problem, the solution, and the plan. We've identified some problems with our federal government. National debt, limiting power and control of the federal government, term limits. These are problems that we've identified with our federal government. And our solution basically is calling for a Convention of States according to Article 5 of our Constitution. Article 5 describes the ways that we can amend the Constitution. So Article 5, according to Article 5, we can call a Convention of States for the purpose of proposing amendments to the Constitution. And I might use the term suggesting instead of proposing, same thing. Proposing amendments to the Constitution that would deal with the problems that we've identified. Of course, any proposed amendment would then have to be ratified by 38 states in order to become an amendment to the Constitution. So that's what we're all about, is that solution, calling for a Convention of States. Then the third tenet, of course, then is the plan that we have in place to bring this about. So the problem, the solution, and the plan. Those are the three basic tenets of convention of states. So we'll back out here and let me then go to recognize some viewers that we have with us tonight. And I can see we have a few viewers that have tuned in tonight. And I want to thank everyone for that has joined us tonight. And here is a gentleman, Jerry Rowe, saying hi to everyone. Jerry has posted a number of comments on here right this evening. Jerry is one of the people in one of the leadership roles here in our state. He's a systems information analyst, and so Jerry also always tunes into us here every Monday night. So thank you, Jerry, for tuning in. Let me see what else Jerry has said here. Here's another one that Jerry has posted. I can't get. You need to make these comments shorter. I can't get them all on here, but Jerry's also commented that our nonpartisan political plan to call a convention of states. And this is how you can get involved by going to the link that he has provided here. We also have a young lady that does our state newsletter, Susan Lyon, and Susan does a tremendous job on our newsletter that has been going on. As a matter of fact, June, I believe it was June, was our first edition of our state newsletter, and Susan put this together, and so we should have then we're trying to do this monthly, so she's working right now on getting the second edition out. So Susan, thank you for tuning in this evening. Let's see if we got anybody else on here. See Jerry's made a few other comments, so appreciate all of you for joining us this evening. All right. Well, let's move on then to the invitation part of our process, our broadcast this evening. We're going to probably finish a few minutes early this evening because of the first segment, not being able to do the first segment tonight. But our president, Mark Meckler, has always has made this quote for some time, and I always like it. I always use it to close out our broadcast, and it's about the question that's facing us in this country, and it's a two-word question, very simply: who decides? And we here in Convention of States, we very strongly believe in we the people should be the ones making decisions in our country more and more, as well as our elected officials, obviously. But we the people need to have more of an input, and so that's what we're all about, is bringing that authority, that participation back to we the people. And my goodness, with the things that are going on in our country today, I think you will all agree with us that we need to bring more and more of the power back to away from Washington D.C. and back to the people. And this goes for not only the federal government, but state, includes state. It's all about self-governance. Now, before I finally wrap up, I do want to mention that our next broadcast, which will be 1 week from tonight on the 20th, I mentioned early on that we want to stress self-governance more and more here in the state of Indiana. So what we're going to do on our broadcast going forward is we're going to try and recognize those individuals in leadership positions, or any supporter, as far as that's concerned, I should say, any supporter, convention of state supporter, uh, that is involved in any kind of role in their local community or in the state some way or in their county, whatever it might be. I want to recognize those individuals because that's self-governance. That's all about getting involved in your local community uh, in whatever role that may be. Of course, in addition to supporting convention of states. So next Monday evening, we have a gentleman coming on. He is his name is Rick Lyon. He's Susan's husband, as a matter of fact. Um, Rick Lyon's going to come on, and Rick is our state events coordinator. And come to find out that he lives in the South Bend area, and Rick is a member of the volunteer police department in South Bend. Can you imagine that? He serves as a volunteer police officer. So when I heard that, I thought, boy, I want to bring Rick on. I want to learn more about that. And I think this is an excellent example of self-governance. So we're going to bring next Monday night. We're going to bring Rick on. Hopefully, we won't have any technical problems like we had tonight. So we'll bring Rick on, and we'll listen to him and let him tell us about his experience as a volunteer police officer in the South Bend area. It should be a very, very interesting interview. So once again, folks, thank you for tuning in tonight. Sorry about the technical glitch. We'll, as I said, we'll get Debbie back on probably later in August, and have Debbie resume with her constitutional literacy series. So once again, going to wrap things up here. If you're interested in joining us here in Convention of States here in Indiana, once again, go to that national website, conventionofstates.com, open an account, become a supporter, and if you have some time that you would like to work in a leadership role, click on that menu selection, take action, scroll down, and look at the different leadership opportunities that we have available. Also, keep in mind, the question facing us in this country is not what should we do. The question is, who will decide? Who decides? So, everyone, have a good evening. Thank you for joining us, and see you next Monday evening at 7 p.m. Good night, everyone.